welcome back to another video on this lovely channel. I'm your host, the Blind Canadian Cat. I say meow and I roll intros, like always. Suck it subly, suck it K-Bob, I roll intros. That's what I do, and I'm damn proud of it. A different video from me, for the sake of it. It's a tier list video. Yeah, you've seen a million of these things, and you probably don't care, but it's something I wanted to do. I've never done one, so I want to do this for the sake of my fun. And what we're doing is, it's a tier list of the NFL teams based on my expectations for them. If you remember, I made a post before the season started saying, this is my, at the very least, expectations where I want these teams to do. Some of them I wanted a playoff run, some of them win 8 games or so, some of them just don't suck. So, I broke it down. 5 tiers here. You won the damn Super Bowl, so there's only one team that met that. You exceeded my expectations. You met my expectations. You didn't meet them, or you just sucked some straight ass. Let's be real here. Some teams did suck some straight ass. So with that, I'm not going to bother wasting too much time on this. This is just based off my expectations going into the year. I have that note written down here. If I were cool, I would throw the editing thing on here, but I didn't. So I think I can. I'll just post the Twitter link to those tweets down below. And with that, let's get started. We're just going to go in the order it goes. So, with that first one, we have Arizona. I said, you guys need to make a playoff run. You made the playoffs last year. You lost to the first round. So, let's go on a playoff run. They ended up being one of the worst teams for a while. So, no, you did not meet my expectations. I can't say sucked ass, because there was like a weird chance of, maybe there wasn't like a totally out. And then Kyler got hurt near the end of the year, and it's like, you can't blame them for finishing with what I think only 5 wins at the time. Kyler stayed healthy all year. They might be a 7-win team, which they still would have missed the playoffs, but unfortunate. And then it turns out the DeAndre Hopkins suspension, it would end up hurting him a lot more than we thought we did. Oh well. Atlanta Falcons, my expectations, I had low hopes. But you know what? You kind of met my expectations of, hey, win some games, develop some players, let's see what you got. You got the rookie Tyler Algier, and then another guy who they're developing, they look good. Kyle Pitts, maybe if you find an offensive coordinator that'll actually target him, who knows. But the bar was set low for most teams. For most people, a lot of commentators and people I talked to said they were going to be a bottom 5 team. I had a bias to Marcus Mariota, so I thought they'd be a respectable team. What do you know? They finished with 7 wins. 6 wins, let's be real. I don't want to talk about that last game. And they're going to maybe work with Desmond Ridder, and who knows. But they figured out what they wanted to do. You thought they could have won the division, but in the end, it just wasn't enough. This was not a good team. But, hey, they won games, so you met my expectations, Atlanta. Going over to Baltimore, I said, you guys, enough's enough. Get everyone healthy. This is a good team. You need to make a run. With that being said, I'm going to just say they met my expectations. I'm not going to say that they exceeded or whatever, because you needed to win playoff games. Again, Lamar got hurt again with an injury that ended up being more significant than we thought it would be, even though no one said anything. But, so, for me, when Tyler Huntley was the starter, my thing was, hey, just don't lose every game and make the playoff game worthy. Or not worthy, but just, make it at least competitive. Which they did, and they arguably could have won. But they didn't. So it is what it is. I'm sure most people would have thought Baltimore would have stayed relatively the same as last year. Expectations kind of go out the door when your starting quarterback gets hurt. Had Lamar played all year and they still lost that wild card game, then you could probably say they didn't meet expectations. But given they were 8-3 at one point, 8-4, something like that. Tyler Huntley takes over. They make the playoffs. So you know what? The expectations kind of shift. I'm putting them in Met, but it's like a low Met just because of circumstances. If everyone's healthy, they need to win playoff games. Buffalo Bills, I needed Super Bowl or bust. And you did not make the Super Bowl. You didn't even make the AFC Championship game. You lost a home game to Cincinnati in a game that they pretty much dominated you in. Like, again, at least the Ravens made that Bengals game competitive with Tyler Huntley. Y'all just got straight up whooped in your building in the snow. So no. Buffalo, I've said all year, and now I'm going to say it here in this offseason. If you couldn't win last year, then what's the play? Of course, Von Miller getting hurt ruined your pass rush to a certain degree, but enough's enough. You got to figure it out. I can't go forward now thinking that you guys are going to be any better. Because if you're going to lose to Cincinnati's going to be around for a while. And Kansas City, they just proved they don't need Tyreek Hill to win a damn Super Bowl. They can drop 38 on the best defense in the league. So I don't know what you want from me. So yes, I'm going with Buffalo did not meet my expectations. Carolina Panthers, all I wanted was you guys to be respectable, and in the end, you had a chance for the division. You were close, so I'm going to say you guys met my expectations. I didn't think you were going to be world beaters. You traded away Christian McCaffrey and assumed you were going to tank. But all the way up into Week 17, 2 weeks left in the season, you had a chance to, hey, win this game and then win the next one, which they did win the next one. The division was yours. So you were there. You made a division that shouldn't have been competitive. And you fought till the end. I can't say anything about that. You guys met my expectations. Bar was low, you met it. Chicago, I said, hey, make sure Justin Fields is good, and hopefully you're not ass. You're going to end the season with the number 1 overall pick, but considering the bar was set low anyway, I'm going to say you guys met my expectations. Justin Fields is now being talked about as a potentially great quarterback. Okay, maybe not great, but Justin Fields is being talked about as being a worthy starting caliber quarterback. Apparently worthy enough that someone thinks a 1-for-1 trade with him and Lamar is good enough. I don't know who would think that, but that's what people want to say on the internet. So, with that, Chicago, you met my expectations. Yes, you finished as the worst team in the league, but the bar was set low, and we were just hoping that Justin Fields was the guy. Now, are they going to get him help? Are you going to help Justin Fields? Who knows? But we shall see. Cincinnati, I needed a deep playoff run. Or just... Yeah, no, just a playoff run in general. You made the Super Bowl last year. It wouldn't surprise me if you didn't make it back. You just needed a deep playoff run. I thought it was very possible that Cincy could be one and done. So I'm going to say Cincinnati will be the first team that has exceeded expectations. Now, that might be a little unfair, because, the bar was already set high enough for them. But you think, hey, especially with a loss, Super Bowl hangovers are very real for the loser. So the fact that they were back in the AFC Championship game, and could have arguably won that game. They could have easily won that game. I'm going to say Cincinnati exceeded. And now I'm truly convinced that Cincinnati, as long as everyone stays healthy, are going to be a threat for years to come. And they could easily get into the Super Bowl next year. They could easily get back. It would not surprise me. Alright, Cleveland Browns. My thing was just don't turn into a laughingstock. Which I guess you could argue that there was debate for a while whether or not they could actually sneak in as a 7th seed. There was that debate. And Jacoby Brissett was a respectable quarterback. Respectable enough that he should have gotten at least a Pro Bowl consideration instead of Huntley. Biased maybe, but I felt like if Tyler Huntley did enough to be considered a Pro Bowl alternative, then Jacoby Brissett should have got some love. I'm going to say, Cleveland, you met my expectations. You weren't the shittiest team in the NFL, and now the critique is going to be a little more harsh now. I didn't really care what Deshaun Watson did in these games. I didn't. It's coming off of a year and a half of not playing. It's going to be to a team who's probably already out of playoff contention or close to out of playoff contention. You're rusty. I didn't really care. Now, next season, we could talk about expectations. The Browns better be a 9-10 win team. They better be. But I'll halt for now. Last year was just kind of a whatever, we got our guy, so we're just going to cruise control. Maybe we'll do enough to hopefully sneak into a playoff to go for a run, but I didn't put much value into this season for the Browns. So all things considered, we have questions, and you could make next year interesting. That's all I wanted to know. You guys met my expectations. All right, on to the Dallas Cowboys. I wanted a playoff appearance. That's all I wanted. This team should be a playoff team. But I don't know, they like to choke in the playoffs somehow. But hey, you made the playoffs, and you beat a shitty Bucs team. I'm going to say Dallas just met. I won't say exceed, because again, that Tampa Bay team, realistically, was a shitty team. So, it's... And you may have made the Niners game competitive, but to be fair, that was your defense making it competitive against a rookie quarterback. And I know San Fran's defense is great, but you got outperformed by a rookie, Dak. That's basically what that game came down to. You got outperformed by a rookie. Now, if you had Amari Cooper, who knows on that front, but I'm not going to care too much on that specifically. Dallas, you did, for as far as I'm concerned, enough, considering my expectations for you. One of these years, you better make a damn Super Bowl, because it's getting tiring seeing you talked about so damn much while winning so damn little. But my bar is never set that high for you, so I just kind of don't care. Denver Broncos, and now we get to finally put someone into the suck some ass. Holy hell, Denver. Where do we even start with this one? This was a team that got Russell Wilson and had people picking them to win the Super Bowl. One of the very few football minds that I trust the most when it comes to talking football. His name is Jake. We don't have an actual friendship, so to speak, but he's a guy who I've been following on Instagram for years. And so when he has sports takes, I trust him. I value a lot what he says. And he legitimately had Denver as a Super Bowl favorite, and what was it? I think he did have. He had Denver winning the Super Bowl. Granted, he hadn't beaten the Packers, but he had Denver winning the Super Bowl. So he had high expectations. I thought they'd be a 10-win team. I thought they'd be playoff bound. Holy hell. Either Russell Wilson has fallen off. Whatever cliff Max Killner was talking about for Tom Brady, Russell Wilson found it and fell off fucking quicker than Tom Brady ever did. Either that or Nathaniel Hackett may legitimately be the worst head coach in NFL history. That, or, and we'll get into them a little bit later, Pete Carroll might deserve more credit than he got. Maybe. But damn, Denver, that was some hot ass. And not only that, to cap off a shitty season, talk about a blitz by Baker Mayfield and the Rams that you guys got on Christmas Day. Was that Christmas? I think that was Christmas Day. Fucking yikes. Nah, Denver sucked some hot ass. Or hell, if you want to get into it, my thing was playoff run. Or at least make the playoffs. Maybe win a game. Some hot ass. Alright, moving on to the Detroit Lions. I said, hey, develop some players, win 6 games. Year 1 with Dan Campbell, we kind of figured you guys would be all ass. We didn't really have much. But like, hey, we're rooting for you. Moral support. Yay. This year's like, okay, now we need to see if Dan Campbell's that guy. It's time to win some games you might not have won last year. And what do you know? Had the Rams beaten the Seahawks in that final week, Detroit would have been in the playoffs. So, Detroit, you are going to also hop into my exceeds expectations list. Because you guys did more so this year than I thought you would. You were pretty much a half a game away. Now, improve that defense, and me, and I know I'm not the only one who thinks this, but other people I've talked to think Detroit has a legit chance to make the playoffs next year. Or should be a playoff team. Now, whether that is with Jared Goff or with somebody else, who knows? But Detroit needs to be a playoff team. Find a way. And now, does that mean Minnesota's going to take a step back and they're going to win the division? I can't go that far. What is Green Bay going to do with Aaron Rodgers? Is Chicago going to get Justin Fields some help? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? But Detroit needs to be in the playoffs. Detroit needs to win 10 games now. I don't know their schedule, so I don't know things off the head. But I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to let the draft go, and I'm going to let them do their thing and see what the schedule comes out to. We'll do a run with that later. But right now, Detroit outperformed expectations for me this last season, and the bar for them is now set relatively high for Detroit's sake. Green Bay, I needed you. I sarcastically put don't choke in the NFC Championship game. But as far as I was concerned, this was... I know I said in previous years this was the last year for Packers to do anything relevant. But this felt like, hey, fucking do something. You guys keep... You should not lose playoff games the way you've lost your playoff games these last couple of years. But you did, so it's like, okay. If not now, then when? And I'm just going to say, no, you guys did not meet my expectations. I was tempted to put you in the sucked ass category, but you did admittedly go on a run near the end. And had you won that game against Detroit, you would have been in the playoffs. Granted, you probably would have got your asses handed to you by San Francisco. But ultimately, even with Aaron Rodgers, I played all game. I think he missed like some snaps in the Philly game. So that game ended up... I didn't really pay attention much to that score, but nah, Green Bay, and I guess that should be kind of a repercussion for not re-signing Devontae Adams or getting Devontae Adams on the contract, maybe, but nah. You guys, I expected more from that. I expected more. Alrighty, the Houston Texans. I was honest. I didn't know how to predict this team. I wasn't sure what to think of this team. So it's like they what? It was a tie week 1 to the Colts. So it's like who really knows here at this point? Because I don't know. I don't know how to read them. I still don't know how to read them. I guess for the sake of it, I don't really know where to put them, to be honest. I guess they technically met my expectation for the sake of, yeah, you sucked ass, but we kind of expected you to suck ass. There was some like back in the head thought from very few people like, hey, Davis Mills was low key one of the better quarterbacks of his draft class or whatever that year. Maybe with another year at the helm, maybe we can talk about him being something serious, something respectable. No. I don't know. I'll go with met just for the sake of there really wasn't any expectations to be met. It was more on who are the players, because Texans are dumb. They're going to keep firing their coaches after 1 year after giving them literally nothing to work with. You can argue didn't meet expectations because, to be fair, maybe they should have gone for the number 1 overall pick and would have had it unless if they didn't do the win that last game. But I don't know. The bar was set low, so and you didn't go 0-17, so congratulations. I guess so. Indy, with Carson Wentz last year, they were a game away, and a game they should have won, they lost, and that's why they missed it. This year with Matt Ryan, I think the idea was kind of the same. Matt Ryan, just don't beat Carson Wentz. Although, to be fair, Carson Wentz probably got too much blame for Indy not being in the playoffs last year. But Indy this year just had nothing. And it ended up turning into a bunch of quarterback rotations in the end that Nick Foles and Sam Ehlinger got some playtime. But overall, Indy just kind of fell flat. And that's going to be highlighted by the biggest collapse in NFL history. The Colts had a 33-0 lead on the Vikings at halftime, and they blew that. They were outscored 39-3 in the second half and overtime. That is disgusting. And of all quarterbacks to have that happen to them, Matt Ryan should have been the last one that happened to. The fact that Matt Ryan's now behind that, if you have that and then the Super Bowl, As a Joe Flacco defendant, but as a lover of football, Matt Ryan, you need to retire. It's done. You're done. This season should have proved that, if anything. Matt Ryan's done. Matt Ryan needs to retire. Period. Jacksonville, I just said win some games. Develop. Yada yada. You guys made the playoffs, and you won a playoff game. Now, what does it say that it's against the Chargers, who have a history of choking? Who knows to say. But hey, Trevor Lawrence threw 4 picks in a game, and they were down 27-0. That's a game you shouldn't lose, especially in the playoffs. Or you should, yeah. But the Chargers blew it, or the Jags took it from them. Hard to say. But Jacksonville deserves a lot of credit. They won their division. They won a playoff game. The Kansas City game was made intriguing, but I think part of that came from Patrick Mahomes getting injured. And that injury affecting him throughout the whole rest of the playoffs. But congratulations, Jacksonville. Now we have expectations next year. People are putting Trevor Lawrence as a top 10 quarterback. I don't know where I would stand with that yet. But now there's expectations. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Kansas City, there's no talking. You guys won a Super Bowl. You won the damn Super Bowl. So it's congratulations. I will say, though, on that end, it's... The games were intriguing, which I would imagine would have been the case, because you had no Tyreek Hill. Grabbing Kadarius Toney ended up being one of the greatest moves you made. And if anything, now this proves that it's not necessarily just the weapons. Now, if you lose Travis Kelce, and you win a Super Bowl, maybe we can start really talking about coaching and quarterbacking. But, in this case... There's nothing you can say, really. You won the Super Bowl. Congratulations. Chargers, I wanted a playoff run of some kind. Because you missed the playoffs last year by a game. In which you're hoping a bunch of defensive pieces get added and would have helped you so you wouldn't have to give up 35 to the Raiders. So what happens? You get a bunch of defensive players, and you just fight injuries all year. You go through... Justin Herbert gets pretty much broken ribs. I don't know if that was official, but he had cracked ribs, and he was playing through that, and it was just a shit show. But either way, you made the playoffs, and you blew a lead. So I'm just... As much as I want to say you met the expectations, but it was a disappointing ending. Between playing the Denver game, which had... no reason to be had no reason for you to try in that game. Not to mention the fact you tried and still lost. But you had no reason to try the game. You ended up getting Mike Williams hurt, who missed that game, which who knows if he helps or not. I don't know if Mike Williams helps you from preventing blowing a 27-point lead. But it is what it is. I can't really say much else about that. On to the Rams. I'm just going to say flat out you didn't meet expectations. It was just kind of a disappointing start. And I don't know if injuries helped with that. I don't know if other things contributed. You lost Stafford, and then you ended up playing Baker Mayfield for a couple of games at the end of the year. So, kind of everything went out the door after that. But you lost some games early on that you probably shouldn't have lost. And overall, you just kind of disappointed. You were one of the 3 teams that should have made a deep playoff run. In the end, you missed the playoffs altogether. Hell, you finished 3rd in the division, I think. 3rd or 4th. No, they finished 3rd. You know what it is. Raiders! You hired a new coach. You got Devontae Adams. You were in the playoffs last year. The thought maybe is you improve. But in reality, you fell off hard. I don't even remember what your record was to end the year, but I'm going to put you in the suck some hot ass category as well. And all I can think about now is what would have happened if you would have kept Rich Bisaccia. Because that man went through so much shit with that team last year. Between the Henry Ruggs and the John Gruden and the blah 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 blah. And he kept y'all afloat. Josh McDaniels comes in And I don't know what happened to this team. I don't know what happened to this team. Again, I don't remember what record you guys finished with, but the fact that you weren't a playoff team says a lot. It says a lot. To the point where you're like, fuck it, we don't want to even deal with Derek Carr anymore. So you benched him, and then now essentially cut him. Now he's going to be in New Orleans. That should be interesting. But I don't know what happened, but there was no reason you should have been as bad as you were. They shouldn't have been. Miami, I wanted you to be a playoff team because you were so close for 2 years. And then despite all the injuries and Tua almost dying like 13 times. Miami, again, injuries, the Tua shit that has us raising eyebrows around the NFL all year now. It's unfortunate. But even then, and even with backups, a whole kerfuffle of BSery, you made the playoffs. And somehow made the Buffalo game an interesting game, which I guess should have been our telltale sign that Buffalo clearly wasn't it. Should have been our sign. Oh well. What more could we say? Next team, Minnesota. You were kind of mid last year, so I just kind of said, hey, make the playoffs this year. And you won your division. You won 13 games. Losing that first round playoff game, more so on the defense, losing that game, that hurt. But as far as I can say, you did what I kind of expected you to do. You won some games. Hey, you ended up making the playoffs. Then you lost your playoff game. That's kind of what I expected. I didn't expect it to be a home playoff game, but it was a playoff game you lost. All right, New England. I wanted a playoff team. You almost met the playoffs, but kind of fell short. I'm still not really sure where we sit with Mac Jones at this point. So I'm going to just say you guys didn't meet my expectations. I wonder about this team. I wonder what's going to be the future of it. I wonder what the future of Bill Belichick is going to be at this point, too. I don't really know. It's kind of heads or tails. We saw glimpses of Bailey Zappi taking over, and we thought maybe he could be the guy. So we're just wondering where this team's going. We're wondering what Mac Jones is going to do. And that's all we can really say. Next year will be telling. Is Mac Jones going to be that guy? Are they going to turn to Bailey Zappi? Are they going to draft someone after the conclusion of the 2023 season? We don't know. We really don't know. New Orleans, I wanted the playoffs. You fell short of that. And I think part of that came from Jameis Winston being hurt, and then when he got healthy, you didn't go back to him. You just said, fuck it, we're going to roll with Andy Dalton the rest of the way. I don't understand it. I don't get it. But that's just how you went. So I'm just going to say you didn't meet my expectations. Because ultimately, yeah, you didn't. You also won 7 games in a division that clearly only took 8 or 9 to win. So I don't know what the excuse for not starting Winston was. I don't know what the plan was. But now you're going to move on to Derek Carr this year. And I think as long as you keep that defense respectable, and with Brady gone from the Bucs, I think the expectation now is division. Whatever Carolina, Atlanta, and Tampa do at quarterback, who knows at this point? I don't think any of those 3 are solid locks for whoever has it right now. But Saints nailed the quarterback down, and right now he's the best one in the division. So that get a respectable defense, and that division should be yours. So as of this recording, March 7th, Saints should win the division. They just should. Next one, the New York Giants. You guys get to go to exceeding expectations. When this season started, before this season began, I was running predictions. I had a few runs where I legitimately had the Giants going 0-17. I thought this was going to be a really bad team. I thought they were the more odds-on favorites to earn the number 1 overall pick. That they would use on a quarterback, that would probably be Bryce Young. That was my expectation. And I found it funny because week 1, you beat Tennessee by going for 2 on one play, and then Tennessee missed a field goal going the other way. So Like, huh, you guys already exceeded my expectations. Good job. But you went on a run. What was it? 10-6-1, going into Minnesota and beating them. And not only beating them, Daniel Jones looked really fucking good doing it. He looked really good in that game. Now, that might just be a knock on Minnesota's defense, which hopefully that improves. But you guys exceeded the hell out of my expectations. And Brian Dable's a very deserving coach of the year. So I'll give it to him where credit is due. The New York Jets, I kind of had you in the same spot as the Jags. Win some games, develop some players. We'll see what you got. And for a while, you guys had me. You had me thinking this could be the team. I'm going to put you guys in expectations met. You had it for the longest time, had exceeded. But thinking on what Zach Wilson is, thinking about where the future of this team is now, thinking, maybe we need a quarterback. I'm hesitant on y'all. But there are talks now with Aaron Rodgers. If he does leave, he might go to New York. So that might be the play. That might be what you're thinking. You kind of crashed hard at the end of the season, so I don't know where to put you overall. But with that said, I think next year you get your quarterback situation figured out. The expectation should be win 9-10 games. Win some games. Because your defense is real. Breece Hall, if he's healthy, is a stud of a running back. Garrett Wilson won Offensive Rookie of the Year. You guys should be fine. So, as long as you get a good quarterback, the expectation should be high. Philadelphia Eagles! You guys exceeded my expectations. I definitely thought you guys would be a good team, no doubt. I think I took you winning the division early on. Maybe win a playoff game here or there. Jalen Hurts improves, maybe? Yeah, I thought a lot was possible. I did not expect a Jalen Hurts MVP campaign. I did not expect him to essentially be the MVP until he got hurt and had to miss those 2 games, and then basically didn't do anything in that 3rd game. I was not expecting that. Now, we can talk about your playoff run itself, where the Giants game, the Giants were clearly overmatched, and the Niners game, how much can we really judge on that when they didn't have a quarterback? Who knows? It's hard to judge, but you can say based off the Super Bowl performance that they were a respectable team. This is a good team who've earned their right to be in this game. Kansas City just happened to make more plays at the end. But no, I thought you guys would make the division win and then maybe win a playoff game or 2. I did say they were dark horse Super Bowl contenders. I did say that very much. But you guys exceeded expectations. You made the Super Bowl. You were 1 or 2 good plays away from winning it. You deserve my credit. And I'll just leave it at that. Pittsburgh, I'm just going to say Met. And I'm going to say that for the sole purpose of I didn't really know where to put them. I always knew Mike Tomlin was like, hey, keep the team respectable. So where are we going to go with this? This was Ben just retired, so now you got a new quarterback. What's he going to be like? What are you going to go with Trubisky? Are you going to go with I can't think of the other Pickett. Who knows? It was kind of back and forth. We thought about the losing season streak, which is now always a thing because we went to 17 games instead of 16. You can't be 8-8 anymore. You got to win the 9th game. But you won 9 games in the end. And had the Jets won their game, you guys would have been in Buffalo in that playoff game. So, you know what? You did good. What are the expectations next year? I would still say don't have a losing season. Because realistically speaking, Pittsburgh probably should be the 4th best team in the AFC North. Realistically speaking here. Assuming everyone stays. Cincy should be the favorites to win the division. Ravens should be right there as long as Lamar's still on the team. And we have expectations for Deshaun Watson now that he has a year with the system. And that he actually can focus on football shit. So there's expectations for those 3. we don't really know about Pittsburgh. If the Ravens don't keep Lamar Jackson and they end up playing Tyler Huntley, then Pittsburgh should finish above Baltimore. I'll just say that right now. But if Lamar stays and Lamar plays, then, yeah, Pittsburgh should be projected the 4th team in the AFC North. But I would still say the expectation, hey, win 9 games. Keep Mike Tomlin's streak going. That's the expectations. The bar is still set low. But they met it. They were a respectable team. And they get to keep Mike Tomlin's streak going. And that's all I can really say. Seattle's another team who gets to say they exceeded my expectations. Seattle was also in my tier with the Giants. In fact, a lot of times Seattle went 1-16 with that one win being against the Giants. Because the two did play. So the fact that Seattle, fair or unfair, got the 7th seed and for the first 2.5 quarters made that a competitive playoff game against the Niners, they deserve a lot of credit. And I would have said if Brian Daboll didn't get Coach of the Year, I think Pete Carroll should have. And I think now we also need to talk about this. With the way Pete Carroll made Geno Smith look this year, and the way Nathaniel Hackett made Russ look this year, I think now when you think back to those talks with former defensive players, the Shermans, the Earl Thomas, the Cam Chancellors about Russ throwing that pick in the Super Bowl, when they should have just ran it up beast mode, talking about they wanted Russ to be the star. When you look at that now, you wonder how much in Seattle Pete Carroll was covering for Russ and not letting Russ cook. You wonder how much that plays a role into things. And again, maybe Pete Carroll deserves a lot more credit than we gave him. Maybe he does. Who knows here? I can't really say for certain. San Francisco, you made the playoffs and made a hell of a run, even with 3 different quarterbacks. I'm gonna say you guys exceeded my expectations. For the purpose of, they wanted to move on with Trey. They wanted to move with Trey Lance. They wanted to see where that went. I didn't really know where to put them there. Like, this is a good team. They've been running well with Jimmy G for all these years. And Jimmy G is not some quarterback we can really praise. So, hey, with Trey Lance, a little more mobility. Who knows? He gets hurt. Jimmy steps in. They're kind of subpar for a while, but then Jimmy gets on a hot streak and they're winning a lot. He goes down. Brock Purdy comes in. All of a sudden, Brock Purdy in 6 games somehow has a legit chance for Rookie of the Year. And he just looks really good. You pretty much dominate Seattle. You win a defensive bout against Dallas. You're there, and if Brock Purdy's arm doesn't fall off from that hit, who knows? Maybe they beat Philly. We don't know. We will never know. So it's hard to say realistically. But I'm going to say, for the sake of it, you exceeded my expectations. Now the expectation is, for next year, we don't know. How is Brock Purdy going to heal in time to start the season? Or are they going to move with Trey Lance? From the talks of it sounds like, they're probably going to let go of Jimmy G. So it's, hey, is Trey Lance going to be that guy? Do we want Brock Purdy to be the guy? Are we going to sign someone else? Who knows? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Tampa, that one's a good question. Because I said playoff run, I thought they'd be one of the 3 great teams. They ended up being a really shitty team that won the division because the division was shit. But again, you wonder how Tom Brady was going to be. Especially with the retiring and then coming back and then all that drama shit. For the sake of the fact that they made the playoffs, they won that division, I'm going to say they met the expectation. I wanted more, but I should have taken into account that, eventually Brady's going to look like an old man. And I think this year it happened. Now, is that going to be more fault in the coaching because it wasn't Bruce Arians and it was more Todd Bowles? Who knows for certain? But I'm going to say for the sole fact at the end of the day, you found a way to win that division. You deserve some credit. So I'll just say, expectations met, but lightly. Kind of like how I'm feeling the Ravens or the Texans. Like, sure, you did that, but it's like, was there really, we wanted more, but probably should have expected more. Who knows? Tennessee, I wanted to run. I wanted them, last year you were the 1 seed, and you lose a game where you only put up 16 points. I wanted more. And not only did you have a lead on the division for the while, but you blew some games in the end. And was that because of Tannehill's injury? Maybe. But it's you just kind of started sucking to the point where it's just like you were just a train wreck ready to happen. You're going in my didn't meet expectations list. Just for the purpose of we wanted more. You should have done more. But you didn't. So it is what it is. And last but not least, the Commanders with that shitty name. Why did you not go Red Tails? Whatever. This is another team I didn't really know what to predict because you signed Carson Wentz and it's kind of like, okay, with the Colts thing, is he actually good? Is he actually bad? You don't know. We like Tyler Heineke still. Should let him have a chance. It was kind of a cluster of we don't know what to believe. It's hard to gauge anything. But you went on a run for a while. I'm going to put you guys in the met my expectations list. You went on a run. Taylor Heineke galvanized this team in a way. And those Giants games, it was really interesting. Both games could have gone either way. And you're left wondering, had Heineke played that one game instead of Carson Wentz, would they have won that game against Cleveland? And if so, does that make him a playoff team? Who knows at that point? I don't remember off the top of my head, but you just wonder what the play was. But the bar was probably relatively low, but somewhere during that season you thought, yo, maybe they can actually be in the playoffs. Yo, maybe they can make things interesting. Who knows? But ultimately, they made the decisions they made. It backfired. They missed the playoffs. What are the expectations next year? Well, they cut Carson Wentz, so they're not going to play that game anymore. Is it Sam Howell, the guy they drafted? Do they want to give Taylor Heineke another go? Do they draft a new guy? Do they trade for a new guy? Who knows? Nothing's guaranteed. But it is what it is. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my tier list. Not bad, actually. It's kind of what I expected, but, at the same time, I didn't actually visualize what it would look like. So, yeah. Kansas City won the Super Bowl, so it doesn't matter what the fuck their expectations were. They won the whole damn thing. They did one thing they needed to do. Cincy, we thought they'd be hungover, but they were right there, and they were a player or two away from going back to the Super Bowl themselves. Detroit was almost in the playoffs. Jacksonville won a playoff game. New York won a playoff game. Philly was in the Super Bowl. San Fran was almost in the Super Bowl, and Seattle made the playoffs. So it's that. A lot of these teams, we thought they'd be mid. They stayed mid. Some teams, we wanted a little more, but for whatever reason, they ended up not giving us much. Yes, I'm saying Buffalo didn't meet my expectations. I wanted them in the Super Bowl. The fact they didn't make the Super Bowl, the fact they weren't in the AFC Championship game, no. Buffalo's season was a huge disappointment to me. And everyone else, it's kind of just, you were mid, or should have been mid, and you ended up mid. Denver and Vegas are the only teams I'm really actually disappointed in. Everyone else, it's like, why? But yeah, that's my video. This was a very long video. I'm sorry. And that's all I can say. Let me know what you think about my tier list in the comment section below. And I will catch you on the next video. Choose peace, accept love, have big trust. I did that backwards. Whatever. Good night, Internet.